Today I wanted to talk a little bit about freedom of speech. And specifically, I wanted to differentiate actions versus rhetoric. If it's a call to violent action, then that should obviously be censored. Direct or indirect calls to violence have to be a non starter in the free speech discussion. If your rhetoric speaks misinformation, which is that which is objectively untrue, to comment on actions or real world events that we can prove led to an objective emotional harm, in a way where the rhetoric can be proven to be tied to the resulting emotional harm of victims' families, that should be condemned. For example, Alex Jones should have been sued for the Sandy Hook comments. I believe that he was sued for too much, but I believe he objectively caused an emotional harm on the victims' families that makes sense by all laws of logic. It makes perfect sense analyzing the human condition that a victim's family in a tragic event would be emotionally harmed by the cover-up or conspiracy of a mass shooting. But we have to be careful with the condition of emotional harm. This should really only apply to Sandy Hook type events or Holocaust denial type rhetoric. But you would not be able to use this to say rhetorical misinformation that led to advocacy of a policy that cuts off a social program like Medicaid or SNAP benefits is rewriting the facts in a way where the rhetoric causes an emotional harm. It has to be that the rhetoric causes the emotional harm. Otherwise, qualifying SNAP or Medicaid cuts would open the door way too wide with the definition of harm being subjective. That's why my thesis is complicated, but it's a necessarily specific criteria that we want to set to protect free speech. Another example is if someone said Palestinians were never bombed by Israel. That should be illegal and punishable. If you said that October 7th never happened, or you believe the entire nature of the event was a lie, or it was all committed by Israel, that would be a conspiracy that would meet the criteria and should be illegal under my moral system. In order to talk about free speech, though, you need to define misinformation. This is because misinformation can only be classified as that which is patently untrue or abject conspiracy that undermines the real deaths of victims in a tragic event. The standard of evidence to determine what is patently untrue or abject conspiracy would be the laws of logic weighted by significance in the eyes of our founding fathers. This is a standard that we still have to debate on for validity, but we have to tie it to the laws of logic used by the smartest Greek philosophers and ideologies that our founding fathers used to create our country. The standard of evidence would still need to be debated and adjudicated in its truth through a legal process, analyzing what evidence would our founding fathers have used and weighed more heavily. But at least it's consistent and allows us to pull from our founding fathers' historical stances and positions. It also can't be corrupted like our current political standard of evidence can. Politics is a corrupt game and doesn't fix things like our founding fathers did ideologically, spiritually, logically, and philosophically. In general, we need to value laws of logic, philosophy, ideology, and the scientific method to drive our standard of evidence. And when we apply that to American politics, it needs to be in the image of our founding fathers' vision of America. This would be the backbone for our new government, adjudicated and debated by the new government that's coming.